Hey, you. Yeah, you. Are you a new Marvel Rivals player who's worried about getting their butt kicked and looking like an absolute dingus in front of their friends? Well, fear not, friendo, because I'm here faster than Santa to give you the holiday gift of 17 tips and tricks for Marvel Rivals. If you stick around until the end, I'll also give you a code for a free Iron Man skin. I mean, okay, if you can't watch the whole thing because you're watching in the bathroom or something, all right, fine, I'll just put it up in the pinned comment. And okay, here, fine, it's on the screen now. There, you happy? Look, just watch till the end anyway, all right? Pretend you don't know what the code is. Okay, cool, thanks. All right, tip number 1, aim slightly to the right of enemies. This is a very weird one, and I'm putting it right up front so more people know. Due to the fact that the game is in third person and the fact that our character models are on the left, shooting to a crosshair on the right, you're more likely to land hits on an enemy if you aim slightly to the right. Don't believe me? I'll show you. Here I am at the practice range with Mantis. I can aim and fire my projectile just barely off to the left of the enemy, and nothing. Now I aim over to the right side of the character model. In fact, I think my crosshair is a little bit further over than before, and bam. Again, the crosshair isn't in the wrong place, it's just a perspective thing. I know it might seem silly, but if they never find a way to completely iron that out somehow, you'll have an easier time landing hits if you make sure you aim either dead on or slightly to the right of your enemy if need be. Shout out to Cavs Almost Got Swept on Reddit for that one. Tip number 2, use chronovision. I'd be pretty embarrassed if I told you how many hours I'd pumped into this game before learning this was even a thing. By hitting either B if you play mouse and keyboard, or hitting right on the D-pad if you play controller, you can briefly turn on chronovision, which straight up shows you what parts of the environment can be shot and broken. Not only can this give you a better idea of what's going to get broken before combat even begins, you can potentially use this feature to poke yourself little holes in the wall to shoot through on defense if you happen to be playing a ranged focused character. Remember, it's there for you to use and learn more about your surroundings. Tip number 3, learn several characters, ideally multiple of each role. This should go without saying, but I see a lot of people just try to learn 1 or 2 characters, usually 2 duelists, then go out and try to succeed. This is a team game, my man. I get it, you're really good with Psylocke and you want to go out and frag out. No one wants to do that more than you, but if your team already has 4 duelists on it, well, picking a 5th because it's the only character you know how to play is buying a front row seat to your team's funeral. You need players in each role. That's just how it is. You should have a minimum of 3 characters in your back pocket, 1 for each role, but ideally knowing 2 or more of each if you're just starting out. I know that can sound intimidating, but remember, despite individual difficulty ratings, each hero only has a small handful of moves that don't really take very long to learn at the base level. Learn up and always be prepared to be flexible with your team. Before we get to tip number 4, today's video is sponsored by Watcher of Realms, so let's thank them real quick. Watcher of Realms is a next-gen fantasy RPG on mobile and PC, and it's out here bringing holiday cheer with a special Christmas edition. Join the Jingle Bells and Wukong Spells event and unlock the biggest rewards in WOR history. Unleash the legendary Monkey King, Sun Wukong. He's here with a festive new skin and stars in an epic event filled with strategic stages, challenging minigames, and a stunning Chinese-inspired map. Log in daily for exclusive rewards like a free Wukong skin, powerful artifacts, and expressive emotes. Dive into exciting events and win 74 free summons, tons of valuable items, and even the new legendary hero Callista, plus her exclusive artifact. You can also unlock the powerful burst mage Lyra, who comes with a Christmas outfit that I forgot what I was saying. Oh well. Even with all its depth, Watcher of Realms is fun and user-friendly. Convenient features like auto fight and quick star up make it easy for new players to jump in. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the video description or scan the QR code here to download Watcher of Realms for free on PC, Android, and iOS. All right, tip number 4. For the love of God, use the ping system. It really is that easy. In a game where teamwork is everything and targeting certain out-of-place characters is vital to success, he said directly into the mic with everything in his chest, the ping system is mandatory. For me, it's the middle button mouse click, but for you, it could be something else. Ping your enemies to let your teammates know they exist, like an enemy trying to be sneaky and go for a flank, or a weak target you'd like your friends to join you in killing. If you're not using the ping system, then your on-mic callouts better be 4K crystal clear, because you're just not gonna win as often if your comms ain't there. Tip number 5, remember seasonal bonuses. One thing that Marvel Rivals is doing, which I find, let's go with interesting, I'll say, is giving characters seasonal bonuses. That is to say, right now in Season 0, certain players are getting minor buffs to just be better than they are normally. You can see which heroes have the seasonal additional buff as indicated by this little yellow sign on that hero's icon. And remember, not every hero will get the same buff. For example, Iron Fist gets a flat out 15% damage buff, but Hela gets a plus 20% damage buff. Venom gets 150 extra to his maximum health, Cloak and Dagger gets a 15% healing bonus, and the list goes on. It's definitely something to keep in mind, especially if you're looking for a new character to pick up this season and you want to take someone at the height of their game. Or if you want to take a mental note for heroes to lock up hard when they eventually get buffed in a future season. Tip number 6, turn easy swing off. If you play Venom or Spider-Man or any other present or future character who knows how to swing, I hard recommend turning off easy swing, which should be under settings, then keyboard. Make sure you click on the swinging character icon and not all heroes, and then go to combat and scroll down to easy swing and turn that SOB off. Easy swing does make it easier to swing in a way by simply targeting your web shooter at the closest wall, guaranteeing you'll be able to swing. In my opinion, it's better with that setting turned off. So instead, you'll now need to look up and choose exactly where you want to swing to. But Fallout, that's more complicated. True, but it'll also give you way more control over where you want to swing to, the overall direction and trajectory of your swing, blah, 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 blah. Doing that will let you learn how to swing better and make better decisions on where to go and how to move with your character in combat. In short, more control is always better than less control. Tip number 7, have a general idea of what all the team-ups do. You don't have to memorize them all immediately, but having a vague idea of what each unique team-up can do means you're less likely to get completely caught off guard in-game, which we want to avoid. Otherwise, you're going to be saying things like, that Winter Soldier's hacking, guys! He has infinite ammo! I'm going to report him, and also, I'm a virgin. Don't be that guy, and learn more about what's possible in-game. Go to the practice range, open up any hero, and hold down F1 or the settings button or whatever to learn more about their moves, including what team-ups are able to be pulled off. Who knows, maybe you'll find one that you really like. And on that subject of practice, tip number 8, run custom games versus AI to practice. Learning how new characters work in the practice range is nice, but if you really want to get a better feel for your character before going into a real game, fire up a custom game. You can leave your lobby open, or you can fill it up with AI if you'd rather do things that way. It's always a good idea to get a better feel for a character against opponents who can actually fight back in the context of how an actual game will flow. Tip number 9, use your melee. This may not apply to every character, but you may forget that your hero actually has a melee, even though it isn't mentioned on your ability summary. It can be very handy. Doctor Strange, for example, one of my favorite characters in the game, has a melee in the form of a magic glowing whip. While it is pretty weak, Strange's primary projectile fires so slow that you can basically throw out a free melee in between each projectile. It may not hit like a ton, but free damage is free damage, and Strange also gets plus 10 to his dark magic charge meter per each melee hit. Just don't forget it's there. Tip number 10, check around for wild strategies online. For example, I was scrolling through Reddit and came across this little doozy. Frickin' Spider-Man being able to pull enemies through a Doctor Strange portal held over the edge of a cliff. Wacky and brutal idea. I love it to death. Can't wait to try that out in an actual game. TikTok, Reddit, YouTube, you know the deal. Always be on the lookout for new weird strategies because the community is creative as hell and you might find something really fun. Tip number 11, prioritize squishy support players. Now, this naturally depends on the situation, but most of the time you ideally want to be choice targeting enemy support players if you have the ability to do so, and especially if they're way out of pocket. When I played Doctor Strange and I popped my ultimate right in the dead center of a crowd, I will always prioritize Jeff, Luna Snow, Adam Warlock, or whoever to make sure I get that healer off the field immediately. Teams without support players lose direct access to their main healing source and will be far easier to pull apart. Learn what the healing heroes in the game look like and make a mental wanted poster in your head. When you have the opportunity to choice target them, do so. Tip number 12, learn sound cues. The more you learn what certain sounds in the game mean, the faster you'll be able to react to them in the future. This isn't going to happen immediately, but be patient and try to be attentive to sound cues whenever they happen in game. Think to yourself, did a character just use a certain type of attack? A certain healing ability, maybe? Try to keep your ears open and pay attention so you're better prepared for next time. After all, the player who hears the Punisher yell,
Judge, jury, executioner!
after the 50th game and still think to themselves, boy, I wonder what that means, are not usually dudes who get invited to a lot of lobbies. Tip number 13, ultimates carry over between rounds. If you're playing a game type featuring rounds, like domination where you have to capture the neutral zone, remember that ultimates carry over from round to round. Meaning if you're about to lose, don't think, oh man, I gotta use my ultimate right now or I'm gonna lose it. Nah man, you can hold on to that bad boy as a treat for the next round. Depending on the situation and how far away you are from your team when you lose, it might actually be better if you hold onto your ult and don't pop it until the next round, where your team will be on more even footing with the enemy. Tip number 14, coordinate your ults. Especially when you're first learning how to play, try to not pop your ultimate in a moment of sheer panic in order to just save your own life. If you're really trying to improve, you want to be talking with your team about your ult before you pop it. Plan a coordinated attack and make sure your team knows your ult is coming to avoid accidental double popping. Remember that some ults do go well when paired together with others, like Groot, for example, who pulls enemies into a central location. But other ults you may not want to waste at the same time. Damage dealing ultimates like Magneto and Iron Man being popped at the exact same moment, it's kind of a waste. If you're playing on the mic with teammates, always both tell them you're gonna pop and do a 3, 2, 1 countdown. Tip number 15, don't trickle in. If you're in a situation where your team is getting picked apart on the objective, you might be in a place where, yeah, get the hell back in there. That is usually the case if while on the way back to the fight, you notice the vast majority of your homies are still alive and kicking. If you maybe only have one teammate alive and on the objective and the entire enemy team is still there, you may not just want to run in, as depending on who you're playing, you might get completely stuffed into a locker. Every situation is going to be different, but sometimes it's a better idea to wait for your homies to completely respawn, especially if they're dying as you're spawning, and go back to the objective in a group. Tip number 16, if you can, peek on the right. Related to the first tip we went over. Because of the forced third-person perspective, if you're trying to peek around corners for a better view or to do some peek shooting, it's generally way easier to do if you're doing it around the right side of an object as opposed to around the left. Again, the third person and the location of your character on the screen is just going to be a little bit trickier and more obstructed visually if you try to approach from the left. Finally, tip number 17, don't be afraid to swap characters if things aren't working. This one is going to be very hard for a lot of new players to learn, especially those who haven't bothered to learn how to play more than 1 or 2 characters total. Sometimes things won't be working, and if the other team is playing hard counters to whatever character you're playing, you might have to switch things up. Certain heroes play better on the domination game type as opposed to defending or attacking a moving convoy objective. Certain characters play better on certain maps as opposed to their counterparts. In short, learn more characters and switch if you feel you need to. Believe me, when you get completely destroyed on round 1, then change up your team's batting order and pull off a reverse sweep, no better feeling in the game. All right, y'all, here's that free Iron Man skin code that you totally didn't see already. Very nice. Hope you enjoy that. If you have any additional tips or tricks for your fellow players, be sure to leave them down below in the comment section. Go ahead and click the like button on today's video and share with a fellow teammate. It really helps me out when you do. Thanks very much for watching. Peace.